Two women arrested in Canada after coming home from a Syrian camp for ISIS fighters' families. This is the Great White North Report.
I'm in love with the system. Never going home. I'm in love.
Alright, so 2 women and 2 children were repatriated from northeast Syria, Global Affairs Minister Canada confirms. Once they arrived back home, the police arrested the 2 Canadian women and charged one with terrorist-related offences after the federal government repatriated them from a detention camp in Syria for ISIS fighters' family members. So they've been sitting in limbo for God knows how long. The general consensus, I think, among many Canadians is let them rot there, because if you're stupid enough to go there, you don't deserve to be back. The RCMP said it arrested, I'm going to butcher this name, Wimaima Chue on terrorism charges Tuesday night at the Montreal Trudeau Airport upon our arrival, and Canadian Kimberly Pullman was arrested after arriving in Montreal Wednesday morning. Authorities are seeking a peace bond. 2 children were also repatriated from a detention camp. I don't blame children. It's not their fault. And Chue has been under investigation since 2014. She's facing 4 criminal charges, including participating in a terrorist group, leaving Canada to do so, and making property or services available for terrorist purposes. She allegedly traveled to Syria and Iraq to join the ISIS state terrorist group. In Syria, it is alleged that she participated in terrorist activities in the name of the Islamic State. One thing we have to note here is that ISIS was not a terrorist organization. The media lies to you about that. ISIS was an Islamic State. They followed a Sharia law. That is an important distinction. Sharia law is Islamic law. One thing to note about Islam does not separate church and state. All you have to do is look at countries like Saudi Arabia, Iran, Pakistan, and now Afghanistan again, and other Islamic countries to note that. Now some of these Islamic countries do not fully implement Sharia law, but Saudi Arabia definitely does, as does Iran. Just look what's going on with Iran. They have morality police checking women see if their hair is covered. They all get this from Sharia law, which is law based on 11th century legal practices, codified. It has no place in today's society, but there are places where Sharia zones, no-go zones. It's something I don't want to see in Canada. So am I against Muslim immigration? Not entirely, but I would limit the numbers to only a couple of hundred a year. So Pullman, her case was she traveled to Syria in 2015 after marrying an ISIS fighter she met online. So she was naive and stupid. And there are 22 other Canadian men, women, and children who are being held in ISIS detention camps in northeastern Syria. Said the only thing she can surmise is that do not have the kind of evidence against Pullman as they do with Chue. Again, you're stupid enough to join, and have you renounced Islam? Pullman is a dual Canadian U.S. citizen who married a man who does have some ties to Canada, but traveled to ISIS territory from Trinidad. She was there. Both her and her husband became very disenchanted with the movement and tried to escape, and were actually imprisoned and punished for attempting to flee. Pullman did seriously regret the choice she made and didn't want other women to do the same. Well, first of all, renounce Islam would be one of the key things you could do. ISIS went with Islamic law. So basically, Canada is being pressured to repatriate all the Canadian citizens that are found in these basically concentration camps, prison camps, refugee camps, whatever you want to call them. There's some, the Kurds have some, there's Kurdish ones, there's ones in Syria, ones in Iraq, wherever they are. And I'm on the fence on a lot of it. Children, yes, we should repatriate them. A 5-year-old Canadian orphan in 2020 was repatriated, as well as a 4-year-old girl and her mother. Like, those kids, they don't know any better. It's not their fault they're born in these things. It's the fault of the parent for being stupid in the first place. So we have roughly 4 dozen Canadian men, women, and children, most of them under the age of 6, remain in detention camps. Well, I would definitely get the kids out. I don't care too much about the parents, though it is cruel to separate a mother and children. So Fred Deef, the Canadian Director of Human Rights Watch, right, she hopes the latest rounds will signal the government in changing its policy and will bring others home. I don't know. Do they deserve to be home? The Prime Minister does not want to spend any political capital to repatriate anyone with suspected ISIS ties, and has essentially abandoned the Canadians in conditions of unlawful detention and inhumane and squalid conditions. They brought it upon themselves. The adults did. Let's face it. No, Trudeau doesn't want to get tarred with, hey, I brought an ISIS fighter home. He doesn't want that on his record. And he told reporters that anyone who traveled for the purpose of supporting terrorism should face criminal charges. Those people traveled to ISIS to start an Islamic State. That's what they were trying to do. They became disenchanted when they saw how brutal it was. So my position is I would put these women in jail for a while, but you got to think of the kids too. Anyway, any Canadians out there, let me know what we should do with these women. Leave comments in the comment section. Until next time, this has been the Great White North Report.
I'm in love with the